It's a very Neptunian month, June 2019 is, and I'm not entirely sure what we can say about it because that's what happens when you have a Neptunian month. You're not quite sure what you can say about it. The point of this month is that Neptune stations on the 21st, just actually an hour or so away from the Cancer ingress of the sun, the beginning of summer in the Northern Hemisphere. And that is kind of the peak period of Neptunian confusion, although to tell you the truth, we're really in the midst of a very, very Neptunian period all month long. Neptune moves barely a minute of arc. He stays right at 18 degrees and 43 minutes of Pisces, essentially all month long. Great energy for creative stuff, great energy for meditations and retreats, great energy, probably kind of like a sort of romantic type of thing is kind of Neptunian, you know, puts things in soft focus, you know. you don't always want to look at romantic issues under like bright fluorescent lights. It's, you know, you want to be out in the restaurant at the table with the candlelight, not in the restroom where that bright light is shining down on you in the mirror and you can see all the things. So it's a soft focus kind of energy, which should be very helpful. It's not ideal if you're trying to do business deals and things like that, though. It's very hard to get a sense of where things really are, what the value of things really is. It's not there's a lot of polarization, and we'll see that during the course of the month too. A lot of political, social polarization is very, very likely. So a couple of little hints for this month. The new moon is on the 3rd, Monday the 3rd. It's in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is about the everyday. It's about your commute. It's about your neighborhood, you know, where you do your grocery shopping, things like that. We don't give a lot of credence to this stuff. We don't pay a lot of attention to it. It's not exciting like romance and career and things like that. But it is the background on which these other things are painted, and so it's important. And it is also where we spend most of our lives. We spend most of our lives, you know, moving around from place to place, going to the store, you know, going down to 7-Eleven and buying, no, I don't know, I don't go to 7-Eleven. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. Once in a while I got a coffee there. It's pretty good, but you know what I'm saying. You go and do your regular stuff, and it's important. It's where you spend a lot of your day. So it's a good time to think about how you're going to renovate your everyday life. Coming out of the new moon, I would say from June 5th through about, we'll give it to maybe the 8th. That's not a very big period of time, but we do have a period of relative productivity that you might want to take advantage of during that period of time. Right around the 7th, when Mercury is sextile to Uranus, that should be very, very good for, you know, getting ideas and implementing how you can sort of change your everyday life. You know, find a new route to work or something along those lines. Venus goes into Gemini on June 8th. Venus was, you know, leaving her home sign of Taurus, where she's very happy. But in Gemini, that lends a little bit of, you know, that kind of casual, friendly type of atmosphere that if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it's typical of this time of year, you know, a little just earliest getting to be summer type of time. And so that's a really kind of a nice energy to have. You know, it's the rooftop bar, the picnic, the enjoying things out in community events and things like that. But on the 9th, so I would say from the 8th through, on the 9th and 10th, we have the Sun square Neptune and then opposing Jupiter. In general, this is a time when we may think too much or too little of somebody, and that somebody may be us. This is a time when we may sort of turn ourselves into heroes or demons, or, you know, if we don't do it to others. There's a real potential for polarization with this. It's, you know, there's good and bad type of thing. And a lot of it's sort of based on illusion and maybe not perceiving things 100% correctly. That is something that we're likely to see in the public arena on the 16th and 17th as Jupiter squares Neptune, and we have the full moon in Sagittarius. So that if we, in our own lives, for about a week there, we start to feel from, you know, the 9th onwards, we start to have these kinds of, you know, who's running the show, who's doing what, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy type of thing in our personal lives. And then around the full moon, while that's still likely to be there, this gets amplified into the collective. When there's a, you know, in the countries that are having elections or preparing for elections or dealing with those types of issues, very, very likely to be polarized and extremes, you know, seeing the person as, you know, this is the real villain, this is the real hero type of thing. Keep your eyes on that. Other than that, you know, the full moon in Sagittarius ought to be a lot of fun. So, you know, I don't know, this is what happens midweek, but, you know, do your best. Go have some fun. You can't have fun on a Tuesday, for gosh sakes. Going onwards, around the 19th, watch out as Mars is opposite Pluto. You know, Mars is opposite Saturn on around the 14th. It's a pretty good time to focus your energies. Let's put it that way. It's a good time to focus your energies if you can, because Mars is also sextile to, Mars is trine to Neptune. But right around the 14th, you probably have the ability to sort of get an idea and focus upon it. Around the 19th, I'm thinking it's just going to be hard to do that. Mercury is opposed to Pluto, and Mars is opposed to Pluto at about the same time. They conjunct each other, and they're both opposite Pluto. This is a time when words and actions are likely to be very, very hot. Tempers could flare. Hopefully most of it will come out on a verbal level, but you know, maybe not just. And you know, be aware also too at this time that while some folks are going to have like sort of hair trigger tempers and you could step on the wrong side of it quickly, also be aware this is a great time to get your message across. If you have something to say to somebody, if you have to deliver a message, speak truth to power, as they say, this is pretty much an optimal time to do so. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but it's an optimal time to do so. You'll get the message across. On the 21st, we have two exciting incidents, two exciting astrological configurations. We have Neptune stationing to retrograde, and about an hour later, the sun ingresses into Cancer, which is the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere. It is a very charged kind of day, but it's a very uncertain sort of day. You know, we don't really know. Put your cell phones off, people. It is a very, very energetic day, which think I'd know better. It's a very energetic type of day, but you know, don't even trust yourself is the way it comes down when Neptune stations. This foggy uncertainty is present all month long, and it really could bite you at any point in time. But right around the 21st, the 20th through the 22nd, no matter how good the idea is, no matter how much faith you have it, just back off. You know, save it for later. Come back in another week or two, or in a while, and see what's what. I certainly wouldn't think that that is a good time for doing much. Around the 23rd and 24th, Venus gets into the Jupiter-Neptune act, and at that point in time, relationships may become either very, very good or, you know, very, very, you know, depressing. Or your partner may be very good or very, very depressing or depressed. You know, so relationship energy can flip-flop right around that particular time. You know, things are going to seem, as almost all month for everything, things are very likely to seem much better or much worse than they otherwise would. I wouldn't say that they really are, but then they would otherwise seem. Now, from the full moon on the 17th, through the end of the month, we are approaching eclipses, as many astrologers like to say, eclipse season. And so what this means is that, again, everything is amplified. So we have two things that are amplifiers this month, right? We have Neptune stationing, and we have the eclipses coming. These are both things that are really, really hot, really, really charged, and really, really potentially polarizing. At the very least, there's a lot of emotionality that goes on in the back half of June. Again, things could look much better or much worse than they otherwise would. you're not quite sure what to do about it. And I would suggest, if it's possible, do what absolutely needs to be done. But this is not a great time to make decisions. And that is the thing about June of 2019. It is not a great time to make decisions. You'll have some opportunities to implement decisions you've already made. You can follow through on some things. You can have a blast. I mean, it really ought to be a fun month. If you can avoid work and everything else, it really ought to be a fun month, but it's not a great time to make decisions. So with that in mind, I leave you, I leave you with the recommendation that you stay on this channel and subscribe and take a look at the weekly forecasts as we go along, and that you go to the website armanddiaz.com and subscribe to the weekly newsletter so you can kind of, find your opportunity periods within this otherwise foggy month. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.